Did you know that the goddess of marriage and family spent much of her time enacting revenge against her husband's lovers? Hello and welcome to World History Encyclopedia. My name is Kelly and today's video is all about the Queen of the Gods in Greek mythology, Hera. Don't forget, the easiest way to support us is by giving this video a thumbs up, subscribing to our channel and hitting that bell icon for notifications so you don't miss out on any new uploads. If you haven't already heard, World History Encyclopedia has teamed up with Andante Travels to bring you the Treasures of Ancient Greece guided tour. Join our expert tour guide, Dr. Rita Roussos, as she takes you on a journey through classical Athens to Delphi, across the Gulf of Corinth, and into the Peloponnesian Hills, where the hero Hercules began his 12 tasks, and King Agamemnon set out to rescue Helen and capture Troy. Make sure to visit worldhistory.travel or hit the link in the description below to learn all about this amazing trip, and we hope to see you there. Hera was the Greek goddess of family and marriage and the protectress of women in childbirth. She represented the ideal woman, even though she had a vengeful and jealous nature against the lovers of her husband and brother and king of the gods, Zeus, and his illegitimate children. Her Roman counterpart was Juno, who kept the familial and marriage responsibilities, but lost the jealousy. Hera was the daughter of the titans Rhea and Kronos, and the mother of the god of war, Ares, the goddess of youth, Hebe, and the goddess of childbirth, Aletheia. In Hesiod's Theogony, Hera also gives birth to the god of metallurgy, Hephaestus, alone, in retaliation for Zeus's single-handed birth of Athena. Although in other versions of the myth, Hephaestus is the son of Zeus and Hera. Depending on your source material, after the birth of Hephaestus, he was either thrown off Olympus by Hera because he was ugly, landed on Lemnos, and became crippled in both legs, or he was thrown off Olympus by Zeus because he was lame. Either way, the god held a grudge against his mother, and he went so far as to capture her in a golden throne he made her as a present, and only released her after being promised Aphrodite, the goddess of love, in marriage. Many of the myths associated with Hera have something to do with the goddess punishing the unlucky objects of Zeus's attention. She punished Zeus's infidelity with the Titaness Leto by promising to curse any land which gave the pregnant Leto sanctuary. Leto wandered for months until finally being offered refuge on the floating island of Delos. But even then, Leto had to endure 9 days and 9 nights of labor, since Hera was keeping Aletheia, the goddess of childbirth, close to her on Olympus, so she couldn't hear Leto's pains. But eventually, Leto was able to give birth to 2 Olympian gods, Artemis and Apollo. Then there was Io, an unfortunate woman who was a priestess of Hera before she was seduced by Zeus and turned into a heifer. Zeus promised that he hadn't slept with her, and so Hera asked for the heifer as a gift, which obviously Zeus couldn't refuse or else he would raise suspicion. So Hera took Io the heifer and had her watched by Argos Panoptes, a giant with 100 eyes. Zeus had Hermes put Argos to sleep, then kill him and release Io. But since she was still a cow, Hera had her inflicted with a gadfly, which drove her mad and caused her to wander from Greece through Europe, Asia, and finally to Egypt, where she was turned back into a girl and gave birth to her son, Epaphos. Hera had her son kidnapped, but Io eventually found him in Syria. After sleeping with Zeus, poor Callisto was turned into a bear, either by Zeus to keep her from Hera's attention or by Hera herself. But either way, Callisto in the form of a bear was shot and killed with an arrow loosed by Artemis. Then there was Semele, whom Zeus fell in love with and promised her anything she wanted. Obviously, Hera took this opportunity to trick Semele, who was persuaded to ask Zeus to appear to her the way he did when courting Hera, in all his godly splendor. And so when he arrived before Semele on a chariot surrounded by lightning strikes and thunderclaps, Semele was destroyed instantly. One man who could not catch a break from the wrath of Hera was Heracles, the Roman Hercules, the son of Zeus and Alcmene. Hera not only robbed him of his birthright as the next king by holding back Alcmene's labor and having his cousin born early, but as a baby, Hera sent 2 serpents into Heracles' bed, but before they could kill him, the infant squeezed them to death. Hera also caused Heracles to go into a madness, which caused him to kill his children and his wife Megara. She made his labors far more difficult by spreading a rumor with the Amazon warriors that Heracles was actually there to kidnap the queen, and she inflicted Geryon's cattle with a gadfly, which caused them to scatter. And after his labors, she sent a raging storm as he was sailing home from Troy. Although she made his life a living hell, the two reconciled after he gained immortality, and he married Hera's daughter, Hebe. Not to mention that the name Heracles actually means glory of Hera. It's not only Hera's wrath we see, but also Zeus's. When he hears that Ixion has fallen in love with Hera and tried to rape her, Zeus wanted to be sure what Hera said was true, so he fashioned a cloud to make it look like Hera and laid it down next to Ixion. Then when Zeus heard Ixion bragging that he had slept with the queen of the gods, Zeus tied him to a wheel which was turned by the winds up in the air as punishment. As with most gods and goddesses, who have a wrathful side and a somewhat helpful side, and it's always worth being on their good side, so it was with Hera. In Jason's quest to get the Golden Fleece from Aeetes, Hera was on Jason's side since King Peleus, who had sent him on the quest, had offended the goddess. And so she aided the hero through the clashing rocks and had Thetis and the Nereids escort the Argo past Scylla and Charybdis. Hera also plays an important role in the Trojan War, first by being one of the 3 goddesses, along with Aphrodite and Athena, who believed they were the fairest, and forced Paris of Troy to choose between the 3. Unsurprisingly, Hera couldn't forgive Paris for choosing Aphrodite over her, so of course, during the 10-year war, Hera supported the side of the Greeks. Hera uses her womanly wiles to seduce her husband after he forbade any of the gods from interfering with the battle in order for the Greeks to rally their forces with the help of Poseidon. We actually learn quite a bit about the Queen of the Gods in the epic tale, such as that the 3 cities most dear to Hera are Argos, Sparta and Mycenae, and we hear of how she was raised by Oceanus and Tethys whilst Zeus fought Kronos. Homer described the goddess as white-armed Hera, ox-eyed, and Hera of Argos. Hesiod similarly described Hera as of Argos, but also as golden-sandaled. Hera was a prominent deity in the Greek religion. She was the patron goddess of Argos, which built a sanctuary dedicated to her in the mid-8th century BCE. She had a temple dedicated to her at Olympia, and an important cult site for the goddess from the 7th century BCE was Tiryns. In some accounts, the island of Samos was the birthplace of Hera, and the centre for cult worship to the goddess dates back as far as the Mycenaean period in the mid-2nd millennium BCE. Hera was greatly esteemed at Elis, and was even featured on some of their coinage in the 5th and 4th centuries BCE. Across Greece, Heraia, which were sporting competitions for women, were held in Hera's honour, as were hierogamy or marriage festivals, where couples would reenact the divine marriage of Hera and Zeus. As an important deity, Hera featured prominently in Greek art, and particularly on pottery. Although without any specific attributes, she can be hard to discern from other goddesses. Often though, she is depicted on a throne, and sometimes she is wearing a crown or a bridal veil and holding a royal scepter. Sometimes she is holding a pomegranate, which is a symbol of fertility, and she was also associated with the peacock and the cuckoo, which was the form Zeus took when he courted the goddess, as well as the lily flower. Although many of her myths focus on her vengeful nature, she was understood as generous and kind to those she favoured, and remained one of the most popular goddesses of ancient Greece. Why do you think Hera took out her wrath not on her husband, but on the women he seduced? Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on our new videos every Tuesday and Friday. This video was brought to you by World History Encyclopedia. For more great articles and interactive content, head to our website via the link below. World History Encyclopedia is a non-profit organisation and you can find us on Patreon, a brilliant site where you can support our work and receive exclusive benefits like this t-shirt in return. Your support helps us create videos twice a week, so make sure to check it out via the pop-up in the top corner of the screen or via the Patreon link down below. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you soon with another video.